Hello and welcome to Angular Air. On this week's episode, we're going to be talk all about ng-conf. And first thing I want to do is give a shout out to our sponsors, all of whom were actually at ng-conf. So first for Auth0, security as a service. I got to talk to Ryan from Auth0 and a couple other team members. They're great guys. They really know what they're doing. We actually are going to collaborate on a couple projects, security-related projects coming up. So if you don't like implementing your own security and want to use some of the great tools that they have, definitely check out Auth0. Also, ThoughtRam, Pascal, Precht runs the training programs. He did it both for ng-conf, ran some training classes, and is going to do some for Angular Connect, a lot of the other conferences, and does his own master classes periodically. So definitely, if you have training needs, check out thoughtram.com. And finally, for our Angular class, Patrick's company, actually all three of the Angular class team members had participation in ng-conf, with Patrick and Scott Moss speaking, and then Lucas doing Electron course. So those are all three great guys. If you have some training needs in the U.S., they're really great talking about with your team about the transition from Angular 1 to Angular 2. So check them out at angularclass.com. And on our panel today, we have Olivier Combe.
Hello.
And Pete Bacon-Darwin. Say hi, Pete.
Hi, everyone.
And Dimitri.
Hi.
Hello.
There might be a bit of
So let's start off. We got a million things to talk about. This was a really fun and action-packed ng-conf. So let's start off, Pete, first with you, with your favorite parts of ng-conf.
Do you know what? I felt that the conference for me had sort of three big facets to it. The first one was obviously the talks, and that's what lots of people get excited about, and a lot of the marketing is about that. And then lots of people also talk about the sort of the one-on-one interactions that you have, which are amazing. You know, the opportunity to talk to individuals face-to-face, with people on the team, and also people in the community who come up and have chats with you. These are really cool, but the thing that really I felt was the most effective part of the conference was the slightly bigger group interactions. So things like the AMA session and the expert sessions, those were just fantastic because we really got to dig deep into what people wanted to say and listen to them, but also it was big enough that it scaled a bit, whereas often one-on-one talks, like discussions with people, it doesn't scale very well to the massive number of people who are there. And there were a few other group meetings that happened during the period of the conference as well. And so these are the things that I'm taking away as really useful for me, and I think hopefully for the other people in the community.
Pete, did you have a lot of people at your AMA?
I would say there were probably like 20 or 30 people. I had Scott Moss and Tero in my AMA, and a lot of the discussion was about what's going on with Angular 1 going forward and so on.
So one thing with AMA that I'm curious, actually it's good that you're bringing this up because I can bring it up in a different context as well, is that I noticed both at ng-conf and at Angular Connect previously with the AMAs, they were a little bit hit and miss. So like I agree with you that there was some good ones, like the one that you were referring to, but the one that I was involved in and then like a couple ones after me, because there were other sessions at the same time that were like really popular, there was like literally one or two people in them. And I'm not necessarily sure of what you can do about that because you want to like mix and match things. But I did notice that before at the Angular Connect last year as well. So I was curious what your thoughts on that are.
I think it was a much bigger problem at Angular Connect because it was competing with the talks, and also it was something that hadn't really happened very much before. I felt that we didn't market it very well at Angular Connect, so people weren't really aware of the opportunities that they had. Everyone who I spoke to at Angular Connect who went to an AMA said it was really helpful and interesting and useful, but there was, as you say, a real lack of people in those rooms. I think ng-conf had quite an idea about separating it into its own days. Major talk going on, or to get out there and try some of the other sessions. And what we're gonna do, Angular Connect, is start a little bit more to try and make it easier for people to go to the sessions they want. We're also going to just really push it as a concept, because I think it's a fantastic concept, but people just don't quite get it yet, because they're really excited about seeing all these talks, and they want to see the guys up on the stage. But at the end of the day, you can go and watch those on YouTube the following day or whatever. ng-conf had an amazing turnaround. I think they had the videos up within like a couple of hours. So what I'm trying to get across to people going forward for these kinds of conferences is that go and get hands-on contact with people. You know, go and actually try and interact with people rather than just sitting in the auditorium watching the show.
Yeah, actually,
so hopefully, if people get that, then it will become more.
Yep, and for me, similar to what you're saying, the AMAs that had people were good, but even better were the experts room, which I think you mentioned as well. They had sessions where basically you can bring out your laptop and you could just ask experts, not just the people who talked, but GDs, other people who were experts with Angular, all about your specific problem. And actually, I found that really useful. Like I think I personally got to talk to at least a dozen or more different people in the community and about their specific problems. And I think a lot of people got a great deal out of that. Olivier.
One of the things I really liked about that.
Go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say one thing that happened at the expert rooms, which I thought was really exciting, was that there was almost an element of unconference about it. So a few times I would be sitting chatting to someone, and then some guys would stand up, and ladies as well, and start talking around a whiteboard, and then everyone would start gravitating towards the whiteboard, and it would turn into some kind of masterclass about TypeScript, yep. Type checking, or Reactive flows and things. And so you had this opportunity where someone who really was at the top of their game just happened out and loved it.
Yep, totally agree. Totally agree. Olivier, what about for you?
I really love the combat bot. The battle bot or combat bot. I don't know what the name was.
Oh yeah, those were awesome. They had robots fighting against each other. And actually, the coolest part was that they were named after JavaScript frameworks. So you had React versus Angular 1 versus Angular 2 versus underscore. It was great.
Yeah, actually on Friday I had a lot of things to do, but almost all of my free time was in this room watching the robots. So yeah, that was really cool. Other than that, I really liked. Most of the talk were good, but yeah, I won't talk about them. I really like interacting with people, meeting my friends from all around the world. So yeah, that's the part that I love the most.
Cool. What about you, Dimitri?
I tried to visit all parts of Fair Day, but the favorite things was like Ask Me Anything, and other part was Tour of Heroes. Actually, not each day you can have a chance to try to dive into some kind of Angular application and ask for help from creators of this platform or framework, like Mishko, Igor, like Minko, John Papa, whoever was there that was helping, this is first line interaction. So basically you're not now just working with some kind of framework, you personally knew the people who invited and actually did it. So it became more human related stuff, not just some kind of frameworks which was written by somebody. And pretty liked like Angular Air show, where I came just to make a photo trapped into online. So, and more of that, like Fair Day is pretty good chance to get rest after the first day of sessions and get more powers before second day to find some people to make some selfies, and our other stuff was just awesome. So I want to say thank you to ng2 organizers because it was really cool.
Well, it's a good thing you mentioned the Angular error taping, because if none of you guys mentioned that, I was going to get upset here. That was actually one of my favorite parts because besides I had fun giving a talk and a workshop as well, but for the Angular error it was like a different format than we're used to because everybody was there and we had so many of our fans there. So I decided instead of doing like interviews with speakers or experts, we would actually just bring up as many community members as we could. And I think we cycled through, I don't know, probably a dozen different people. Some people that I knew ahead of time, some people that I didn't. And I don't know, I'll post the link to it. We did not create a audio recording for that because I didn't think it was going to come out that well. But I'll post a link to the video, and it's pretty funny. We talked to Ben Lesh and who else? And Sam Saccone.
Wesley Cho.
Yeah.
And that guy, you came to me like 5 minutes ago. Come here. This was the favorite one.
Which one are you talking about, Dimitri?
I don't remember his name like you. So you was just saying, hey you was talking to me like 5 minutes ago. Come here, let's do some Angular. It was awesome.
I'm terrible with names. I was just talking to the guy in the expert session before, and I told him to come down. So. But
it was like awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, that's cool. And nobody mentioned the NG show, which was great. Shai Resnick gave an amazing performance, which you should definitely check out. I showed my wife the video yesterday, and it translates even if you aren't an Angular or even a tech person. You can watch the NG show on YouTube, and it is really funny. So I thought that was good. Let's jump to actually. We're going to jump topics a little bit because I want to, for the listeners, not only to just hear reminisce about stuff but I kind of would be interested in hearing from you guys about things that you learned. What are the big takeaways, right? So there was all sorts of information, both in the one-on-one sessions, as well as the talks, as well as the workshops. So if you had to say what your top one or two things are that you guys learned and took away from the conference, what would it be? So let's start this time with Olivier.
So this was my first time doing a workshop, so I think I learned a lot doing that. Other than that, I don't know. Well, most of the talk were stuff that I knew or knew about. Nothing really new for me, but
you know it all, Olivier.
No, it's just that I read a lot about stuff. So yeah, when you get involved into the Angular 2 beta, you know about most of the things that they talked about. So,
well, even if it wasn't something technical, I mean, I think there was a lot of stuff. Just seeing, the whole team together. One thing for me that was not on the non-technical side was just getting a better feel for how the team works together and who all the players are, because you sometimes see all the names, online, but the team grows, every year, right? So. For example, Jules now has her own little group within the Angular team focused on developer relations, and she's kind of doing a lot of stuff for outreach with enterprises. So something I kind of knew about, but I wasn't fully aware of until I kind of talked to Jules and Steven and and Rob Wormold, who are kind of her team, was sort of how they're starting to work closer with a lot of bigger enterprises that are implementing Angular and Angular 2. So that's kind of really a cool initiative, I think. It helps to strengthen the bonds within the community. Dimitri, what about for you? What are some things that you took away from the conference?
First thing which I took was pretty cool presentation by Matthias on Angular 2 animations. Yeah, that was a cool one because it showed the things which are not yet documented and most probably even not accessible right now, but he shows several ways, and all of them was really cool to use. So I'm right now just waiting when they will make this public to use. Second part was a bit of not technical. I have seen like Papa Mishko like 4 years ago, and was life changer event for me, as it happens. And this conference, I have a chance to meet personally everybody and just say thank you for all the work they have did. So for me, it was just important to like say in person thank you. And one more, maybe a bit more technical. Learn Clinton by Mike Brochi. It was really cool because, again, it's not yet documented, and Hans and Mike and all the team on CLI is not yet really documented the stuff, but they showed that like they did a great work, and community will have a great tool to use, and it's customizable, it's pluggable, and I suppose kind of great huge future will be for this tool. May the force be with you and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of anticipation for the CLI. It was kind of built up on the first day, and I remember talking to people on Angular Air, in the hallways, and people kind of looking forward to that. And then Mike Brocky really delivered. So I thought that was a great presentation, and I think there's a lot of anticipation for. High hopes for the CLI kind of simplifying one of the biggest pain points with this new ecosystem of new age JavaScript, all of the different build tools and transpilation and everything like that. So if it can simplify all of that, then yeah, people are going to love it.
And last thing, if I may, Rob and all his kind of presentations, he's really reactive nerd. I propose a new term, not just a nerd, it's reactive nerd. And whatever he touches, I suppose it will be kind of great. So NGRX and store and debug tool for NGRX stuff is really cool. So I'm expecting whatever he will be doing on Angular team will have a reactive future.
Yeah,
go ahead, Olivier.
Always something that you should watch on video later, because it's like doing so many things in 20 minutes that you have to watch it in slow motion to get it all.
He talks fast for sure.
Yeah, and doing code and stuff like that. So
yeah, I like too that they had Matt Padwasaki, who is the sort of creator of RxJS, the framework from Microsoft that does reactive. It allows you to do reactive programming, basically a library for observables. And he gave kind of, I think, this like intro to the concept, and then Rob sort of ran with it, and it's like, okay, you heard about reactive. A lot of you guys heard of Redux. Here's this crazy new thing of how to do it with Angular. And I know that within the people who have started using that NGRX, there's a lot of excitement into that that sort of way of building apps, which is different though. Like I know some people who don't like it, so it kind of goes on both sides. In terms of going down the reactive route or just the more traditional imperative route. So I think that's one of these things. Although there'll be convergences for certain things, like there's obviously a convergence for like TypeScript within the community. I feel like that majority of people, both at the higher level of people giving talks and workshops and whatever else, have kind of bought into TypeScript, and a lot of the people, enterprise developers, have kind of bought in. There's some people, but they're who haven't, but they're the minority. So I think like something like TypeScript is really strong for how its use is going to be moving forward with Angular 2. But something like NGRX, I feel like that's going to be a little bit split. Like there'll be a strong contingent using it, and then there'll be just as strong, if not more, contingent, using the more traditional route. And that's fine. Like I think it's kind of cool to have for things like that, both of those exist. Pete, what are your thoughts?
I was saying to lots of people during the conference actually that this whole application architecture space is the place to watch for the next 12 months. Angular 2 is pretty much there. there's not going to be a massive amount of changing in the architecture of that and the APIs and so on. But then there's this big gap above Angular because it's very agnostic about architecture. And NGRX is sitting there at the moment, which is playing on top of React. I've got a feeling that there's going to be some other players coming in over the next 12 months, and I think that the interplay between these guys and how who decides to use what is going to be really interesting. So those are the kind of talks that I think will be interesting over the next sort of 12 months, and blog articles and so on. So that's really cool. The other thing I wanted to say was with the CLI tool, one of the cool things about that is that how much it's been driven by the community. You know, this is a tool which has had a large amount of input from people who are not in the Google team. And that just shows how Google, or at least the Angular team at Google, are really looking to widen the Angular platform to bring more people in to make it a bigger thing than just a Google product. Yeah. So I think that was a really interesting thing to take away from the CLI side of stuff. Obviously the really big Keynote stuff was all about this offline compiler, the ability to pre-compile all your templates so that you can strip down your code to almost like the absolute bare minimum. The DI disappears, the templates disappear, you just get straight vanilla JavaScript, which is optimized often even faster than you could do it manually, or at least you'd want to do it manually. And so that means it starts really fast and you have a really low sort of initial payload. So that's, I know for a fact that there's been a huge amount of work over the last 6 months internally with people and Mishko working really hard to get that sort of thing in place before they got to the release candidate. And I was very pleased that they managed to actually demo it this last week, because it was touch and go. So that was I think many people will start to realize how important that is as they start to look over the videos and think about what it really means. Another big area I think which I'm taken away from the conference is that the Angular team and the community in general really cares about diversity and inclusiveness. Naomi set up during the conference, and it was really well attended. There were like 50 or 60 people in the room, and she asked if anyone wanted to speak, and I was thinking everyone would be just sitting there thinking, oh, it's all scary, but there were loads of people saying, oh, I want to talk about what I'm doing for diversity, and I'm setting up meetups for people who are from ethnic minority backgrounds, or I've got this women workshop thing, and they're really full of energy, and the Angular team is really keen to support that and grow that. So I think that's a really positive thing coming out of the conference as well. And the last thing I wanted to say, which I think is very important to know, is that we found out during the conference that Igor Minar will not hit his boss with a baseball bat, even if he's dressed up as the paper model that is going to be full of sweets if you smash it to death.
Yeah, they had a paper mache model of
Pinata.
Brad, yeah, Pinata, and they were trying to do a little joke to have Igor beat Brad's Pinata with a bat, and he refused to do it. He gave it a big hug, which was nice.
I got Brad's leg, so.
Oh, look at that! Olivia.
I would like.
There you go.
Both of my suitcases were already packed, but I managed to get this.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I had the hand, but I didn't have room in my bag, so I gave it up to somebody else in the crowd. I forgot even who I did. But, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to be a better developer with this leg on my desk. So I'm
Guys, it's a bit scary that you're carrying parts of Igor to your home.
No, it's a part of Brad, so it's okay.
It's all good. Yeah, Pete, one thing with the offline template compilation, I think that is one of these things that, you know, people may kind of understand peripherally at a high level, that sounds kind of cool. But yeah, you're right. Like, until you get your hands on it, probably won't appreciate it as much. But I can tell you that it is makes a world of difference, because like you were alluding to, there's just like huge chunks of the core code that just is not needed in production then. Like the compiler, DI, like huge parts of the core itself that you just don't include. And so it makes the size of both the library, the core library, and then your application code much smaller, and obviously faster because it's writing more optimized code, like you're saying, than you would. For the server side, it's actually of particular interest because one of the things that is really important is like that initial load time, because we do have certain things on the server side for Angular Universal that is kept in memory for every single request, but there is a kind of mini bootstrap that occurs for every single request, just for like session data and some other stuff. And because of the template compilation thing, it should, we haven't finished the testing for this, but it should drastically reduce or increase the performance, reduce the amount of time for that initial server render as well. So that's super exciting for me.
And I think that you have to really bear in mind what exactly they're talking about when they say compilation. It's not just compiling the TypeScript in another way. It's actually understanding the template to such an extent that you can remove the entire template from your app and convert that all to code. And what that means is that you then know exactly what directives and components are actually required in your app. So if you're not using ng-if or ng-for in your app, they can actually completely remove that from the code base. Obviously, most people are going to use ng-for, but there's definitely ones out there like ng-switch or maybe ng-class, which are just not going to be used in some applications. And that just gets all cleared, and you don't have to do anything about it in your application. You just don't use it, and then when you run it through the compiler, it's gone. These are really amazing tricks that obviously would be never possible in Angular 1 because you can't do that kind of analysis of the templates to work out what's going on in there.
Yeah, one interesting thing, like a story-wise with that, is that I remember we would have weekly meetings with Tobias Bosch for Angular Universal, and it was early on in the beta, actually even probably in the alpha, when I think he originally started thinking of this idea to do the offline template compilation. And we were already kind of well on our way to kind of building on top of the alpha for Angular 2, and so it wasn't something that was already always planned, conceived from the original notion of Angular 2. It sort of was as people were starting to build on it, and Tobias, I think, had like some sort of revelation, like in the middle of the night or something like that, and came in and was like, "Igor, I got a great idea. I'm gonna just completely rip out the guts of Angular 2 and make it a lot faster." And I'm sure that for most tech managers, when they hear that with a product that is already kind of well underway, they would be like, forget that. But it shows to some of the courage and ingenuity of the team that they sort of took that on and were able to do it. I mean, it's really amazing.
And this didn't just happen once. Mishko said in the Q&A at the end, he was saying, "Let me tell you a story about Tobias. Every couple of weeks he comes into the office and says, Mishko or Igor, I've got this great idea. I'm going to speed up the compiler," and he goes away and he does this enormous refactoring of the whole thing and the sort of boot up time or the compile time of Angular 2, and he just did it again and again and again. I think there must have been at least 4 of these major refactorings. And it was always really funny to watch the discussion groups on Slack, because it's like, right, nobody is allowed to merge anything into master for the next 48 hours because we need to get this huge refactoring that Tobias has done in before it goes stale. And this happened like about probably I think at least 4 times over the last 9 months. It was amazing, and he just kept producing the goods. It was really impressive.
Yep, definitely. So let's go to talks. So we mentioned a couple of them, like Mike Brocky's CLI talk, Matthias's animation talk, but let's talk a little bit more of for the actual presentations. Which ones did you guys like? What were some things that you think is noteworthy if you were to like basically for people listening that are going to go back and watch the videos? What are some things you want to point them to? Olivier, how about for you to start off?
I would say ng-animate, the talk about CLI, your talk about Angular Universal, and the keynotes in general.
Yeah, one thing.
And ng show, but it's an obvious choice. So.
Yeah, ng show is a must for sure. Yeah, it was. Speaking of the keynotes, like it was funny to me that like I didn't, even though I talked with Brad and the other team members about like stuff going on with Universal, and obviously Jeff Cross knows a lot about it as well. He's involved in a lot of the meetings. I didn't realize like a lot of the stuff that Brad was going to include about Universal in his keynotes. So I was like pleasantly surprised. Like when I saw that, I was smiling and glad to see the reception that other people had it both for the keynotes and in our talk. So that was great. Dimitri, what about for you?
Okay, you've already mentioned the greatest one. But still there are a lot of them, and whoever wasn't able to watch ng-conf definitely should take a look on Minko Gechev's Angular Era Style Guide, automated one, and most probably it have even 2 parts, additional like auto fixes, and most probably it will merge to ng-CLI, and we'll have actually a list of actions to automatically switch from one Angular 2 versions to another, to upgrade it like almost semi-automatic. John Papa's Angular 2 presentation about Force Awakens was really great, and he was one of the fastest typers at ng-conf.
But not the fastest.
Not the fastest.
Who is the fastest?
Kara.
Kara, yeah.
Kara Erickson is amazing. Like it's mind blowing. I think obviously the presentation itself, which she did on Angular Material, was great. Like people wanted to know about Angular Material and what's coming up, but they're almost distracted by how fast she could type. Yeah, you should watch the video just for.
It takes a lot of confidence to go and do that kind of live coding, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Pete, what about for you? What were some of the things from talks that you would want to point people to?
So there's this guy called Tero who has in the past done talks like, I thought I would just rebuild Angular from scratch just to sort of see how it works. And he's the kind of guy who just gets really deeply into technology and he understands stuff so quickly. And what he did was talk about, had a really weird name like generative art using Angular 2 or something. But what he actually did was just create some really cool animations with sound to create like wind chimes that just made these lovely, beautiful sounds. But underlying, there were 2 things going on. One was he actually used Matthias's new ng-animate engine. He kind of brushed over it a little bit, but he actually took a really like early cut of ng-animate before it had any documentation, or I mean, it still doesn't have that much documentation, but he just got stuck in there and he used it to create this beautiful set of animations for his talk. But then also he showed his sort of about is that we should always learn through play and enjoy learning rather than think of it as a chore. He's got this really mild manner and he talks so clearly, and that from now on all my learning play little fun project and just using that to really get deep into the technology.
His presentation was very his presentation was very zen. Like you just felt at peace when you were listening to him talk.
Absolutely, and you know the quality of his slides, because they're all built with Angular 2, just lovely to watch. It was just you could just turn the sound off and just watch his slides, and that would be enough for me. It was great.
Cool.
But listen to him as well because he's really useful.
Yeah, 2 other ones I want to make sure I mention. One is a guy named Pete Bacon Darwin's talks.
What's that?
Yeah, the good old PBD. So
I actually was the only person at Angular ng-conf who gave a talk which was not about Angular 2. It was only about Angular 1. It was the only talk.
It was the most practical, right? Because everybody is still building. Yeah, everybody is still building on Angular 1. Like, to be honest, that's probably what is going to be most actionable for the most people. The stuff from your talk, right now. You're talking about with Angular 1.5, some of the new stuff with building off of components. And I thought that there was a lot of really good information in your talk. So, and I heard from other people too that they liked it as well. So that was a good job, Pete, for sure. And then the other one I want to mention is Scott Moss's talk. So Scott is always a great speaker and gives very practical advice. And the line I'll always remember that I'm going to steal from him is the error-driven development. Basically, he gives the analogy of if there's a lifeguard at the pool, even if you don't know how to swim, just go ahead and jump in. You'll have somebody there to kind of help you. And that's the sort of mentality when you are learning. I do see that there's this mental barrier that's just like everybody runs into, that you have something new, whether it's Angular 2 or something else, and it's hard to just get over that to start learning, start trying things out. And Scott's message in his talk was just, okay, don't worry about it. You're going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter. Just go for it. Just try it out. Once you run into the error, then that's actually good, because then it's easy to look up an error and figure it out. It's not as hard when it's just like an unknown thing that's like ambiguous. That's really hard. So you got to get past that. So I thought his message was really strong. What do you guys think about the Dr. Lozano?
Yeah, he's really good at.
I actually wasn't there for it, so I got to watch that still on tape.
After his presentation, I had a feeling like all my life I'm doing some kind of not worse stuff, and this one does the real thing. It was, like just blow your mind. Okay, we do programs, we always have a discussion about important things like semicolons or like spaces versus tabs, and all other real important things in our lives. But this one is huge. He does the real things. He saves lives, and it was like, oh my God, I wasted my life and doing some kind of not worthy stuff. And this was like awesome presentation.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely have to. That's one of the few ones I didn't see yet, so I gotta go back and see that. That's cool. So let's talk about what could be improved. Not that things went bad. I think in general we would all agree that like it was an amazing conference, but I think it's maybe good to talk about the type. For me, I have a couple of things, but I know there's not a lot. But things that you would want to see basically for next year or for other conferences. So Olivier, what do you think?
You mean things that could be improved?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for ng-conf, they use this application to send push alerts to people. And on the Science Fair day, they sent a lot of push notification for swag price, and it was a bit annoying. It was okay for me, but I heard a lot of people say that really they couldn't stand these push alerts. So maybe next year they can just send a message to the people who won. Other than that, I think that on Fair Day, it was a bit hard to find activities because it was in a lot of different rooms. So I don't know what they could do with this.
It did take me a while to find the room that I was like being the experts room that I had to go, and I think I was like 10 minutes late because I was like looking all over the place. I think some people ran into the same thing. So that was just a logistical thing.
Other than that, I don't know. I think that we need more T-shirts. Yeah. I just got
not enough free T-shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with Olivier that on Fair Day I was a bit confused. The floor 3 where lots of the Fair Day things were was like a complete warren, and I spent a number of times just wandering up and down asking people where I was supposed to be.
Did you guys even know on that floor 3? Pete, did you even know that there was a foam room that like you could like those foam pits that you can kind of jump in and such? I just found that out like right at the end. If I knew that thing was there, I would have been like playing in that for like hours.
Do you know what? I had the opposite experience, which was that was the only room that I could find. Every time I turned a corner looking for a room, I'd end up in the foam room. It was almost like it was calling for me to go in there. It did look like lots of fun. The thing about the app was I think I agree again that notification could be really useful in the sense that sometimes you want to get a message out to everyone. I think probably they could have just done with fewer prizes. I'm not sure if there's that much benefit in having so many prizes. I know everyone likes to go home with something, but hey, I'm just happy to be there. The other thing that confused me quite a lot with the app was that it was quite confusing because you looked at the session that you wanted to go to and it had an end time, but the way that it was displayed made it look as though that was the start time. And on at least 2 occasions, I went to a talk thinking about start and it had just finished, including my own expert session. So I missed that one, but then I stayed on for an extra hour afterwards. So I would feed that back to the app provider because it was actually not ng-conf's app, it was the one that they were using. But do you know what? The thing that I really realized during the whole conference is that the conference is run by a group of people who love organizing the conference. They do it as an act of love. They're not doing it to make a load of money. They're not doing it, to try and become famous. They do it because they just love making everyone happy, and that's probably where the prizes come in and all the gifts that they gave away. They just like being generous, both with their prizes, but with their time and their energy. It's really nice to see, and it inspires me to sort of want to get more involved with Angular, as if I could. And hopefully I'll do so for other people too.
Cool. Dimitri.
To be honest, I have disabled sound on my phone, so I was not annoyed by any kind of push notifications. And before Fair Day, I already have a plan where I will go next. So, and to be honest, I will not say that something was better, not even good enough. Everything was just great, in my opinion, because it depends, of course, on what conference to compare with. But I suppose, like actively organizing 1500s of nerds is like a challenging stuff, and they kind of did this really great conference without most probably any issues. All nerds was feed in time, slept in time, and organizing in time, and everything was just good. So
I think that the whole fact that we are just annoyed by push notification proves that there wasn't a lot to discuss about regarding things that went bad. So
yeah, I was going to say that the internet stayed up, and that was true.
Yeah, right.
For the most part. But I heard that during Lucas's workshop on Electron that it actually went down. Right,
yeah, during mine too. Yeah.
So that always, I mean, every single conference in the history of time, there's always like some level of internet problems. But yeah, for the most part, it was good. But yeah,
except at Angular Connect.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it was really good at Angular Connect. We had even had the Angular Air upload and work online with the same Wi-Fi that was used by the attendees. So.
I have one other thing that, in addition to the stuff you guys are saying, so I thought the casino night was pretty good. The May the 4th Be With You party. There was definitely some interesting parts to that, but it was they had like the dueling pianos thing, which like usually in like a small bar like that seems to work, but for whatever reason it just didn't. There weren't that many people into it. It didn't seem like, and so like the dueling pianos thing, then they left, and then they did some karaoke, which only like a couple people hung around for, which was fun. That night. It was actually more fun, to be honest, the next night, karaoke in like the smaller room that was like more intimate and everything like that. So that actually worked really well. But the one suggestion I'm going to definitely feed back to the organizers there is that I really liked what Pete, you guys did at Angular Connect the last time, which was to have like a band and like actually like play like real music and like people were dancing and stuff like that. Everybody had a lot of fun there, and I think I would probably prefer that over the dueling pianos thing, but that was like, again, like you were saying, Olivier, these are like minor.
Did you miss the
What's that, Pete?
Did you miss the Cantina band then? The band playing at the beginning.
Yeah, I must have missed that. Where were they?
That was also in the main room just before and there were people dressed up in like Star Wars outfits playing the do 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 do. It was lots of fun, but it doesn't. It doesn't take away from what you were saying. I think it's really nice having a band that like focuses everyone's attention. It's always difficult to do in such a big room. That's always hard. You know, you need some kind of
that's true.
stadium filling, you know, songwriter, singer, or something. But we're definitely going to be thinking about that very hard for our party in September.
Maybe they should have gotten like U2. Maybe if you guys aren't they could be available. You should check their schedule for Angular Connect.
AC/DC maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Definitely. Dimitri is giving a thumbs up. Okay. We're getting near the top of the show. Before we get to picks, is there anything that I missed that you guys wanted to talk about?
We didn't talk about goodies.
Oh yeah. What do you think of that, Olivier?
I really like them. Like I said, we had a lot of T-shirts, which is good to annoy my wife. We got some Legos, but
yeah, the Legos
were
awesome. My kids love the Legos that they gave out as both prizes and for the speakers. Really cool. This big Starkiller base thing, this big Kylo Ren's command ship, which is awesome. So that was awesome.
Yeah, we got an insulated canteen mug thing that we can close with the Angular logo. I really like this one. I'm using it at work now. What else? I got Brad's leg, which is priceless.
Nice. All right, let's go to picks. Pete, why don't you start us off?
I just wanted to say the nicest gift that I got during the whole session was from Geddes, and he gave this really nice little talk in the end of the Q&A where he said that as a child he didn't have very much money and he wanted to save up enough money to get this trampoline, and his father, who's a potter, taught him how to make some ocarinas, which are like little whistles, and he learned how to make these, and he made loads and loads and perfected them and sold them to his friends at school and eventually saved up the money to do that. And so as a kind of thank you to the Angular team, he made every one of them a little ocarina, and they look like this. They're so cute, and I had to rip this one back off my daughter who I let have, and she wouldn't let me have it back because I wanted to show it on the video today, but she's really enjoying learning all the tunes on it, and it's so cute. And so the made these by hand, and it was a really thoughtful gesture. Again, showing the love that he's got towards these things. It was a really nice goodie to get at the end.
So let's hear a tune.
Oh, let's see if I can definitely do a scale. That may be about it. So. Hey, there we go.
All right.
We'll work on that. Next time we'll have a full-on tune for you. Okay.
Any other picks, Pete?
So my picks are that there was a guy from a company that makes JavaScript and Go language libraries to interact with devices called Cylon.js is the JavaScript one, and I think the Go one is called GoBot or something like that. It was really cool, and he let us play with all of his drones and control them from our laptops. So I'm definitely going to be playing with some of that. You can even get your little BB-8 robot from Sphero and control it with your computer using this framework. So that's cool. And the thing that I took away from Salt Lake City is that whenever you're walking around Salt Lake City, if you want to go into a bar, you must have your ID. Even if you're walked out, you'll still be asked for ID. As Shai found when they wouldn't let him into a bar at one point during the conference. So that's my top tip for going to ng-conf next year.
Yeah, I ran into that issue as well. That's a good tip.
That's just because you look so young.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Olivier, what do you think?
So I'm really behind on my news reading because of last week. I would say go watch the videos. They're all online, so take some time to watch at least the one that we mentioned were worthy. And yeah, I know that's all for this. Oh, and go try Angular Universal. I used it recently and it's awesome.
Awesome, thanks, Olivier. Dimitri.
So all my Pics will be around ng-conf because all last week I was there. Most valuable thing, maybe not even a thing, which I took from there is a lot of new friends who I have a chance to meet in person, and it was really, really great. Other will be more technical, like animation and NativeScript, because I was not yet sure about NativeScript, will I use it even? But after presentations, several conversations about it, right now I'm sure that I will give it a try at least. Animation, waiting, I don't know, it's the best thing I have ever seen for now in Angular 2. And maybe this is it. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Actually, that brings up one thing we didn't talk about, which was the NativeScript marketing promotions during the conference, which clearly had an impact. Now that you're saying that are a NativeScript believer, so I think that they did a really good job with both the talks and their booth. But actually, probably the biggest thing in my mind was that they added some really cool T-shirts. Actually, I like them a lot that I wear around yesterday to basically everybody's goodie bag pack. And so you saw just everyone at the conference wearing these NativeScript shirts and talking about NativeScript. So that was like a big win for them.
And Burke Holland, was it Burke Holland? He was so full of energy during the keynote when he got his slot. He was suddenly like, wow, yeah, NativeScript does this and this and this. Yeah, it was really amazing. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy for sure.
Yeah, speaking of T-shirts, have you seen this one from Egghead? I really love it.
Oh yeah, I do like that one.
He gave them at the workshop, and then he added some extra that I could get one. Really love the design. I think I'm gonna. That's one of the rare T-shirts that I'm gonna wear outside of tech conference. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. I have 3 picks. One thing I forgot to mention earlier that I'll have as a pick now is to watch Jeff Cross's talk on progressive web apps. Jeff works with Patrick and I on Angular Universal, and he integrated Angular Universal into this concept of progressive web apps, which is something largely just implemented by Chrome right now, but is starting to expand out to other browsers, where you can use Service Worker and have offline apps, like basically create a web app that functions more like a mobile app. So there's a lot of really cool stuff coming down the line to expand the power of web apps. And sort of the goal that they talked about during the closing is that, not that you wouldn't ever need to build a native mobile app, but that perhaps the need won't be as great because the power of web apps will become greater. So I thought that was really powerful. And then also I wanted to plug one thing that Brad talked about on the second day, which one of the things that he surprised me that he talked about, because it was one of these future things that I sort of cut out of my Angular Universal talk, but he, I guess, decided that it was good to talk about in the keynote, was that we are trying to integrate Angular Universal to a lot of different types of backends. So we already integrated to .NET, which Steve Sanderson from the Microsoft team has done a great job of implementing. But now we want to implement also Java, PHP, and Go. So I'm going to add some links to the show notes, and there's already a couple people that have started to look at this, but we want to really kick up the effort for those areas. So that'll be cool. And then my last one is just a thank you to all of the organizers of ng-conf. I kind of spoke to each of them individually and just told them how grateful I was for all of the work that they did. They really, like Pete was saying, put their heart and soul into this, and you know, they don't have to. Like, they're not making tons of money off this or fame or whatever. They just love to do it. They love to give back to the community, and so that's really awesome. And you guys should, you know, if you guys that were at the conference should reach out and kind of personally thank them as well, because they do appreciate when people, you know, give them feedback like that. So that's it for me. We'll be back. Oh, sorry, Pete, go ahead.
Can I just say, talking of conferences, if you've been inspired by ng-conf and you feel like there's a talk inside you that needs to come out, the CFP for Angular Connect is actually finishing at the end of this month, at the end of May. So you've got a few weeks to get your submissions in before we release the full schedule for Angular Connect in June. So don't forget to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Angular Connect. It's an awesome conference to go to. London is great to visit, and it's really well run. Next
Angular Air will be.
Yes, we will. Next week we're going to have Taro on. We talked about Taro a little bit and his talk. I'm sure we'll mention it again, but we're going to focus on migration. One of the biggest topics during ng-conf was how do I migrate my Angular 1 app to Angular 2. So we're going to go over all the different possibilities and you know, problems and you know, solutions and etc. with Tara, who knows everything about everything, including wind chimes. So thanks a lot, everyone, for watching. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.